National Fire Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the National Fire Radio podcast, a podcast that is designed to talk about the job. I'm the luckiest guy alive. I get to interview the coolest people out there in the American Fire Service and talk about the job. Everything from guys riding backwards, officers, chiefs, up through companies, people, manufacturers, products, organizations, you name it. We're trying to capture the stories to promote the job and make the job better. So if you're returning and you're a regular listener, thank you. If you're new to the podcast, check it out and let us know what you think. Podcast at nationalfireradio.com is where you can find us. Send us an email. Let us know what you think about the show, people that you think might be a good guest, or anything else that you want to talk about. Send it over to podcast at nationalfireradio.com. We'd love to hear from you. And what we get to do is bring forth the word about the job. But in order to do that, we need the help of some sponsors. So do me a favor, hang tight, and listen to the words from a few of our sponsors. This episode's brought to you by Box Alarm Grills. When your apparatus arrives on scene, are you making the best showing? Looking to set your rig apart from everyone else? Want your engine, truck, or rescue to be easily identifiable? There is a solution. With large aluminum grill numbers and full-width rear mud flaps from Box Alarm Grills. Formed by Danny and a team of fellow firefighters, Box Alarm Grills gets it. They know what it means to show pride in your ride, delivering the quality construction and design that fire departments demand. That's why their grill numbers and mud flaps grab attention, enhance visibility, and make your fleet recognizable on scene while responding or just driving around town. Built in the USA by a family-owned business, Box Alarm Grills is quickly becoming the choice of fire companies, apparatus planners, and fire truck manufacturers with out-of-the-box or custom solutions. Check out functional, durable grill numbers and mud flaps from Box Alarm Grills today at boxalarmgrills.com and on Facebook and Instagram. And like Danny and his crew like to say, add pride to your ride. Taylor's Tins. Taylor and his team have been manufacturing aluminum helmet fronts since 2017 with over 200,000 shields in the market. Taylor's Tins is a leader in the American Fire Service helmet front space. Not only do they manufacture helmet fronts, but they do so much more. Locker tags, key chains, CO monitor charts, medical kit charts, pump charts, banquet awards, you name it, they do it. Go over to taylorstins.com and check out what they can offer you today. They've become a longtime sponsor and good friend of the National Fire Radio podcast, and because of that, they offer a promo code at checkout. So when you go to taylorstins.com, enter NFR Sent Me. That is NFR Sent Me, and you'll get 15% off your checked out order. It works on all stock items from taylorstins.com, including quick tins, license plates, locker tags, and much, much more. Exclusions do apply. This is a company that prides themselves on quality and customer service. From the inception, from your design to out the door, it's within 48 hours. Nobody else is doing that. They can't do that. 48 hours to get your shield out the door to you, to put it on your helmet, and get to the next job. Anyway, check out taylorstins.com. Again, that's taylorstins.com. Check out their latest offerings and use promo code NFR Sent Me. That's NFR Sent Me for 15% off on your checkout. And in the words of Taylor and his crew, stop burning up leather. Hey everyone, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a first for me, man. 200 episodes of this podcast. And today I have the absolute honor to speak with a man, not only from a different time zone, but a different continent, Gerard Mann. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. I'm really excited to be here and to be the first episode of International Fire Radio.
International Fire Radio, brother. Here we are. It's a thing. It's now official. So let's start off with a quick intro, but we're really going to learn about you and Australia and the fire service there through the conversation today. So let's do this. You're an 11-year career fireman. You were in the volunteers for 3 years prior to that. Australia is all state-based fire service, right? We're going to talk about that a little bit. Right now, your title is a leading firefighter with the Fire Rescue Victoria. And Victoria is one of the states within Australia.
Yep, that is correct. You've nailed everything.
Bang. I rehearsed that, everyone, for quite a long time.
So you are down under. I'm up over, as you put it. And man, I'm excited to talk about this. We have some mutual friends. That's how we got put together. And then you reminded me of something from very early on in National Fire Radio, where 5 years ago we were trying to connect with people, and we said, "Hey, send us something, and we'll send you something," right? And it was done through social media, the power of social media, and we said, "Hey, send us a sticker, a challenge coin, and a T-shirt or something like that, and we'd love to send you something in return." And I didn't know that until right this very moment that you had sent a T-shirt and so on. And so thank you, brother. That's freaking cool, man. So you've been with us since the beginning.
Yeah, I've been with you since the beginning. We jumped on early, loved what you did, everything from apparatus innovations through to covering podcasts with really interesting people. It's been brilliant.
I love it, man. We have, when I go through the metrics of the podcast, and even on social media, we can see where people are tuning in from, right? So we can see what type of downloads and how many downloads are happening in different continents, different countries, and all that. And there's always been, from very early on, Australia, there was always a contingent of metrics that came out of there. So it was probably just you, and I appreciate that, truly. Probably our only fan there. But, brother, I love it, man, because it just goes to show that you're in love with the job. I mean, you're seeking it out. I know that outside of being a fireman in Australia, you travel to the States. You've been a part of different training conferences, symposiums. You've spoken with some of the biggest names in the fire service. I know that you talk in regards to high-rise firefighting, which is a passion of yours, which has put you on a collision course with great influencers throughout the fire service. And you've been able to really make a lot of good friendships and relationships here in the States. Maybe we'll start there. Is there a culture difference in the United States versus Australia when it comes to the love of the job? Is the job in Australia a lot of what it's like here in the States, where there's a lot of people that really are dialed in and trying to push it forward?
Yeah, like I guess any fire. Look, I've traveled the States, I've traveled a little bit of Europe, mainly UK, and a bit around Australia. And one thing I've noticed is all fire services have their owners, renters, and squatters, yeah?
Oh, I love that.
People that own it and really get into the job, really make it, really try and push the ball forward. Renters, they're there to do the work, and they will pay a bit, but they're not as invested as, say, the owners are. And then you got your handful of squatters that you just don't want there. But I think that's around the world.
I've never heard it put that way, and I absolutely love that, man. Owners, renters, and squatters. I wrote that down. That's actually going to be the title of this. Unless you hit me with another one-liner, we're 2 minutes in, and you've already crushed it, brother. That's it.
Yeah.
Show's over. You gave me the title already. So that's cool. So with that, then, you have being a firefighter where you are, right? You're in an urban setting, right? So you found your way to an urban setting. I thought it was very interesting. Maybe you can kind of break it down for us a little bit, just how that looks, how it's state-run fire service, and then you have volunteers that are on the outskirts of the city, basically, and then you have a career staff that is in the urban center, right?
Yeah, 100%. So most states in Australia have at least 2 fire services, and they're state-run, state-controlled, and they have their own state legislation. So they have their own state powers, etc. And they're usually broken up into a volunteer service, which looks after the rural and regional areas, and a career/paid-on-call service that works in the capital city, major cities, and large regional centres. And they work together on the fringes, and anytime we have big bad wildfires, they always come together and work together. And it's vital that they have a bit of synergy between the 2 organisations. The funding comes from the state for both, which is great because it means that everyone's got a fire truck. It should be kind of new. Everyone gets fitted out with the same equipment so that there's no problems with, we can't pump to that person because we don't have the adapters or matching pieces. So it all comes down to being able to work together, but have your own separate identities.
Yeah. but it brings very different disciplines, right? Because, Australia, just like the States, the urban center is vertical. Everything's going upward, right? And so I have to think that, looking at pictures of some major metropolitan cities in Australia, there's no differences from the urban centers that we have here in the States.
Yeah, no, none at all. The only major urban difference is, I guess, that we're relatively new to the high-rise problem.
Okay.
So we didn't really start building them till like the 60s, 70s, where you guys have been building them for over 100 years.
Yeah.
Because we've always had the land to expand outwards.
Right.
So we've always expanded out. Now that land's starting to get a bit expensive and travel times to the city is starting to get pretty blown out, we're starting to see that re-urbanisation and that move up. So if you look at a picture of the city I work in, Melbourne, 20 years ago versus today, you see numerous, like the skyline's tenfold to what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, you're seeing that here now too. The New York City skyline, I can see every day from where I live. Manhattan, I can see Manhattan every single day from where I live. And I'd say in the last 5 years, that skyline has changed dramatically.
Yeah, and Manhattan's moving into the ultra high.
Yeah.
Like they're moving into, and we're starting to move there too. Like we've got buildings that are around 1,000 feet, all in Melbourne. And they're so complex. They're just big machines.
So big machines. That's a good way to put it, right? Absolutely. So give me the breakdown then. How did you become interested in going vertical? How did you come to realize that the high rise aspect of the job, because of the growth, is that you saw like, hey, we need to do better at this, or we need to address this, or where'd that come from?
So I've always loved the job. I've always been really into the job. Like this is what I've wanted to do since I can remember. I grew up behind a firehouse. My dad was a volley.
I love it.
And then, so my whole life I've wanted to do this. I've, like as people do, you stray a little bit, you go do some other things. I read Engine Company 82 and when I was a teenager and I was like, bang, that's me, done. I'm out now. And so when I got in the job, out of recruits, we got to choose, not choose, but we got to put down a preference list of where we wanted to go. Yeah. And my preference list was based upon not my proximity to the station from home. It was like, who does the most calls? Who does the most calls? I'm doing them. So I went there and then I stayed there for 4 years and then I moved to...
And you said that was a busy stint, no? You said that you're going to fires almost every tour?
So that was Ballarat. So it was a city of 100,000 people and it was pretty busy. It was busy for us, but not fires every tour. The next station I went to was fires every tour and it was like a outer suburb of Melbourne, like really outer suburb. It was still controlled by that combination department that I work for. And we were going to fires every tour. It might not have been a structure fire. It might have been car fire. It might have been a big pile of rubbish, but it was fires every tour. And I was loving it, running and gunning. And then opportunity came up to move into the city and to change brigades at the time to the career service that was working in the city. So I took that opportunity. And my first shift with them, we were sitting down to lunch. We got toned out to an apartment fire in the middle of the city. We pull up and I see this smoke just pumping out of this 5th-story apartment of a 10-story building. And I was like, oh, I am out of my depth.
Yeah, now what? What do we do, right?
What do we do?
We got to go up there.
I'm not taking... Sorry?
We got to go up there.
Yeah, I'm not taking the crosslay off the truck. What do you mean? Like, how do I get water?
Right.
What's this hydrant system you talk about?
Right.
So from then, like, I fell in love with the complexities of the problem.
Yeah.
Like I've always seen firefighting as a challenge. And one of the things that excites me about it is no job's the same. And there's always different challenges to different fires we go to. And the thing that brings me, one of the things that brings me joy out of this job is solving those problems, solving those challenges and thinking about them dynamically more than just, we do step 1, 2, 3, 4 at every fire. No, what's this fire doing? What is the fire dynamics? What's the extinguishment method we need? How am I going to use my water?
Have you always been that way?
Yeah. In general,
like when you approach something in life, is that how your brain works? You like to break it down, analyze it, figure it out, not just how to do it, but the theory behind it and why it's happening and how we combat that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm the
yeah.
same. I'm very much the same way. And as I've gotten older and have matured more, especially in the fire service, I am asking a lot more questions and wanting to know a lot more behind why we do what we do.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's one of the best things about this job is that you never stop learning and you can't stop learning. Like, as you said, like, I'm pretty into teaching it and stuff. So you got to know what you're talking about. You can't just sit up there and go the old backdraft, Ronald, oh, it's moving up here because of the theory of flammable liquids.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to understand what's happening in that fire. And the best part is you watch a lot of scientists who talk about fire and what's going on. And what really surprises me is most of them go, we don't really know much about fire yet. Like, we think we know a lot, but technically we don't. Yeah, but anyway, back to the interest in horror. So yeah, these challenges, like pulling up at a building and going, cool, there's a fire on the 10th floor. I don't even know how to get there, let alone what the hydrant system looks like, how to evacuate this building, stairwells, all that kind of stuff. So the challenges that come from this is just phenomenal. And not to take away from the challenges that come from a residential fire or a factory fire or something like that. There's challenges to them too. I just enjoy the complexities of the vertical environment and the fact that it usually takes me longer to get from the lobby to the fire floor than it does from the firehouse to the building.
Yeah. It's a really interesting way of putting it. And I actually wrote it down. You said you have fallen in love with the complexity of the fire. And I think that's a poetic way of stating really who you are in a way, because it speaks to your abilities and want and need and desire to learn and to do better, right? The complexity of the fire. I mean, that's a really eloquent way of stating that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, like that and the tactics and strategy should be formed by the fire we're fighting, not by this is the way we've always done, or
and no, but with that, then, is there a culture that believes in that? Are you the norm? It's hard, right?
I'm
not trying to put you on the spot. My point is, we deal with it here too, right? Is that we do have that conflict between this is how we've always done it, but this is what technology, science, and education and training is telling us. But we're here, and sometimes we hit the wall, right? And so 100%. I guess my question is, without putting you on the spot, but there tends to be a culture that kind of holds us back on the traditional end and not progressing forward. But I think for you being able to travel and talk about this and educate yourself, I'm sure you're making an impact and difference.
Well, we're building the culture, we're building that change, right? And we're having a cultural shift. And you talk about this all the time on the show, right? You're that connected generation between, the older generation and the younger generation. And we're going through, like everywhere in the world, apparently everyone had a hiring ban in the recession in the 90s, so everyone's a bit short on staff. So we're going through this massive recruitment drive. So nearly 50% of the job is done less than 10 years, right? So we've lost a lot of that experience. And when you break down a firefighter, let's talk in triangles, because we have to talk in triangles. That's all we know.
Do it.
If you break down a firefighter and you go, here's the ideal firefighter, they'll have one line that'll be experience, one line that'll be theoretical knowledge, and the other line being practical training or practical skill. And when you reduce one of those lines, you need to increase the other two.
Right.
Keep that same surface area, right? And increase them exponentially. Like if I reduce the experience line, the other two lines have to really stretch out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking that kind of theory and putting it into our training culture. So we're now starting to establish more training culture, more in-service training for crews, developing new materials and methods of training. So we've got the YouTube generation coming on the job now, right?
Yeah.
So videos. Why aren't we doing training videos? And so we've looked at departments like LA County and seen how they're delivering their training videos and going, cool, what can we take from that?
Yeah.
How can we manipulate our practices So it's easily accessible. And as I said, we're a state-based service, yeah? So our most isolated career station is 5 hours from any other career station.
Wow.
So how do I get training to them?
Right.
You know, and the same level of training, because they need the same level of training, because
Sure.
the expectation of that firefighter is the same as the firefighter in the CBD.
Yeah. Central Business District.
Central business, sorry, the city.
Yeah. I got you, brother. Don't you worry. Listen, that's an easy one. I got that. That's a layup.
Yeah, the language is interesting, because like when I was in the UK, I was there with a lot of States firefighters, and then we had some British and some Irish firefighters and some guys from Italy and Germany and all that. And I'd be talking, and the English people knew what I was saying, the Irish people knew what I was saying, and no one else knew what I was saying.
I love it. No, this is super fun, right? Because I think like what you just said, all those nationalities come together for a symposium or a training event, right? To share knowledge and experience, and coming from different cultures and backgrounds and cities and states and countries, there's so much information to be shared, and we all share one common thread. And it's just being firefighters. It's being brothers and sisters. Like, and that I think cuts through all the nonsense, right? So regardless of the terminology you're using, it still makes sense and it's relatable once I figure out what the frig you're saying, right?
100%. Like, yeah, I remember sitting there one night in a cigar bar in London, and we're talking firefighting, and it was just interesting, the different definitions that people have.
Sure.
Like what a backdraft is. Like, what define a backdraft, and they'll define something and I define something, and it's a little different. But then when you start to go, okay, you have a fire doing this thing, what do you do? The techniques kind of turn out the same.
Yeah.
I think,
I learned early on with the podcast that communication and terminology is huge, because it is a lot of the definitions are the same, but how we get there might be very different. And I think like that translates to the fireground. You might call it one thing, or what an actual definition of a backdraft is for you might vary from us. But overall, there's an underlying theme that's the same, right? And it's just how we get there. I love that. And I think that goes, just to bring it right back around to the conversation, I loved the fact that you guys recognize the need to address your training culture and how do we deliver the message today. And if you have a career station 5 hours away from the next career station, to dedicate somebody to go there to teach and train, where you could deliver it simultaneously across the board to all stations and all, like, I think there's tremendous value in that. And I don't think we're doing enough of that here in promoting and using technology of today to deliver the message.
And like, there's so many more new technologies coming out. Like, Lancashire, I'm going to butcher this, Lancashire Fire Rescue in the UK, for example.
Okay.
They've started to jump in to virtual reality training. And I'm not talking the virtual reality training with the hose and the nozzle.
The goggles and that hose, and they're like,
like that. Like, I mean, I'm sure that's going to come in one day, but right now I don't know, I'm a traditionalist. Let me go do some class A's. But they've got the goggles, right? So every station's got a set. And they might go, okay, today we're running a class on X. And now they put the virtual reality goggles on, and you're not watching a PowerPoint. You're walking through like a scenario or a situation, and you're able to see different things and aspects. Yeah. So the classroom then becomes a virtual environment.
Yeah.
And they're finding that more firefighters are not nodding off in the back row to your PowerPoint. You're not death by PowerPoint. They're actually immersed in the environment, immersed in the training, and getting so much more out of it. Now, again, they're not delivering practical skills with this training, but they're delivering theoretical knowledge. But
absolutely.
And it's so cool. Like
I haven't Jared, I haven't really put much thought to that, right? But, people push back right away. As soon as they hear something like that, they push back right away. Like, there's nothing can replace hands-on training. We need experience. We need, reality-based training, this and that. You know what would be really cool? To put on a set of virtual reality goggles and watch a flashover from the point of a flashover in the room, so that you're there to really understand and witness what the conditions are And then take it a step further, when we go blacked out, we have rollover over us and we can't see it, but there's ways to sense it and feel it and things to listen for, right? It's virtual reality. We can put together training-based programs of theory, right? That really can immerse you into understanding the other aspects of the job. Maybe you can't learn or physically learn how to force a door or cut a roof, but maybe we could teach you pump theory. Maybe we could teach you how to run, an engine company pump, right? And that's your introduction to it before we get on the training ground. I think there's tremendous value in programs like that, but we have to be careful, right? And I'd love to hear your feeling on it, but we have to be very careful that it doesn't replace what we know to be, the right way to do it, I think.
100%. We use it for enhancement and supplementation.
Yeah, I like that.
You still need hands-on training, but the one thing that I picked up from virtual reality, so I went out to our aviation rescue firefighting agency. So in Australia, there is like one sole agency that does airports for us.
Right.
And they're using it in their command and control training.
That's cool.
And the way they put it to us was, we're developing recognition prime decision making for our people. So they've got the goggles on, they're seeing something, they can hear things, everything is starting to like immerse them in the environment so that they have a pseudo experience of something that they might turn up to. So we're starting to see battery fires in Australia now,
Yeah. Sure.
And aviation firefighting rescue are starting to see them too, because we got EV airport tugs and EV vehicles at the airport and stuff like that. But not everyone's been to one yet. So they're using this virtual reality training to get them in that environment to see it. And then they're going outside and doing practical skills training with hands-on stuff, blowing water, doing that stuff. So they couple it together to give a more immersive training environment and a more immersive delivery of knowledge before going and doing the practical skill behind that knowledge.
Yeah. I think there's a good balance there, man, because listen, death by PowerPoint, it kills us all, right? And so
100%.
many of the instructors are not dynamic enough with a PowerPoint. I mean, listen, I've been to training conferences, and as well as I do, some people are super dynamic, their slides are good, they're realistic, but the presenter can present the information and the slides are there to supplement his conversation. We don't have that many dynamic people putting out training, especially when it's mundane stuff that's being released every single day, right? I mean, you can only be so passionate about teaching, a certain aspect of the job day in and day out in the training division, right? I mean, it becomes super mundane. So finding alternative ways to deliver that, I think, is really a win.
Yeah, 100%. And you do get mundane and you get expectation creep as well.
Yeah.
Because you know how you see a class, you get them to the end of their class and they're here.
Yep.
So then the next class comes in and they're starting here, but in your head, they should be here.
Yeah, right. No, it makes sense. Absolutely. So let me ask you this then. I mean, I guess with the way your mind works, we talked about it before, how it's analytical, trying to figure out theory versus practical and all of that. Is that what led you down the path after you looked up 5 stories, saw smoke pumping off the balcony of a high rise, said, man, I want to educate myself better on firefighting in a vertical application, vertical setting? Is that what kind of set you on the path of training and education? Because I know that's a passion of yours, no?
Yeah, I guess. I'm into training, right? I really am into training, and I'm into good training and delivering training to our people. But I didn't join this job to become an instructor. It's just something I kind of fell into, right?
I get
at
it.
the moment, I'm back on station in Melbourne, because I joined this job to catch the truck, go on runs with the boys and girls and live that station lifestyle. That's a big part of this job to me.
Sure.
That station culture. But early on, I remember I went to recruits and we got taught structural firefighting by our structural instructor. And he was trained in compartment fire behavior training, which is that gas cooling pulse method of firefighting. And we do that down here in Australia. That's part of our curriculum. We're a Euro-based fire service. we're still part of the British Commonwealth, so he's our king too.
Yeah.
We still have to follow
So
them.
there's a very strong British influence still, right? In Australia. Okay. Mm-hmm.
In the fire service, definitely.
Yeah.
We're heavily based on their systems. But yeah, so I was at recruits and we were doing this training, and the first thing they did was destroy my thought of what fire was. Like, I thought it was this beast that we had to fight. I didn't think that it was just a chemical reaction that you could kind of solve. And that was directly after they told me we don't try and break many things here. So here I am going, I get to break doors, smash windows, and fight the beast. And then
we don't really do that much here.
Yeah, we're going to try and respectfully enter, solve the problem, and leave. And I was a bit devastated. But then we got out there in the practical training environment. I saw what having a good knowledge of fire dynamics led to. I saw this. Oh, okay, we use this. Because people hand you a fog nozzle, right? Or a combination of whatever you call them. And you've got this branch that can go from 120-degree angle down to 0.
Right.
But how often does the instructor go, okay, you want to use this setting for this. You want to use this setting for this. Like if you were meant to use them on a 30-degree cone, why wouldn't it just come out as a 30-degree cone? Or if you're meant to use them just on a straight stream, why wouldn't it come out in a smooth ball? So there's got to be an application method to it. Like Lloyd Laidman, little drops of water style stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, but so that really sparked my interest in the fire dynamics side of the job and firefighting side. So I started reading books and just trying things when I was at fires, which probably isn't the best way of doing it, but
that's how you take theory and education and put it to the streets, right? You add practicality to it to see if what you're reading and educating yourself on actually works in practical application.
Yeah, 100%. So we were going down that path of just learning and reading, and then started talking to people and getting involved in social media, which is a great way of meeting people and talking to people. I'd just cold email authors and be like, hey man, I just read your book and I've got questions, and then just start firing back and forth with them. And then so when I jumped across, got in the high-rise environment, I also had the opportunity to move into the structural firefighting department, and that was at about 8 years in. Okay. So I took that opportunity to become an instructor, and since then I've been popping in and out like a honeymooner of that department, station life, and I spent a small amount of time. So one thing I haven't said, my organisation's very new. So Fire Rescue Victoria started on July the 1st, 2020.
What?
Wow. So remember how I said we had a combination department and a career department?
Yeah.
So on July 1st, 2020, they're like, the ease of everything, we're going to take the career firefighters out of the combination department and connect them to the metropolitan department or the career department, and just have 2 services, 1 career, 1 volunteer.
Wow.
So when we joined, we had to write policy and procedure.
So this is still got the new car smell then, right?
100%. And don't get me wrong, it's not without its challenges, and it's not without its rewards.
I'm sure it's got plenty of challenges, man. Are you kidding me? Holy crap.
We've been able to build a fire service from the ground up. And part of my journey has been involved in, I went to the Planning, Policy and Operational Guidance Directorate and helped worked as a team to author new standard operating procedures for the whole job, because the career department was doing this and the combination department was doing this, and that's not right, because we're one organisation. We should be doing this.
You got to bring it together.
Yeah, so I got involved in that, and that led me to just cold emailing again other people, a good mentor of mine, Jerry Tracy. Emailed Jerry, bang, I'm getting emails fired back from Jerry Tracy, and we're just talking about high-rise firefighting, and another mate in Dublin, John Chubb. And so that kind of got me into that.
Wow. So can we talk about this for a minute? So I'm intrigued now, right? Because you're at you have an incredible opportunity in front of you over the last few years to be an instrumental part of creating the foundation for which hundreds of years to come is built upon the hard work of that's going into it today, right?
100%.
That is really unique and interesting because a lot of people would never have an opportunity like that in their career to be at the ground floor level.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Anderson Rescue Solutions. Anderson Rescue Solutions was founded in 2016 by former Philadelphia firefighter Tim Anderson. As an urban firefighter and rescue specialist, Tim found that the equipment available to him lacked the usability and practicality in complex, high-stress environments that rescuers often found themselves in. To combat this, he developed products based on his own experiences in the field, creating innovative, efficient gear designed to thrive in reality. The multi-loop rescue strap is a perfect example of one of these products. Made in America, this patented tool is used for rapidly harnessing firefighters or civilians in the worst conditions. Every feature is fine-tuned to meet the needs of rescuers battling low visibility, low dexterity, and high stress. The multi-loop rescue strap has been used in numerous real-world rescues for both firefighters and civilians all across the country, and it is being increasingly adopted by fire, rescue, and tactical agencies as standard issue equipment. I carry one. I have carried one for many years. It is the most versatile strap out there. Check it out, the multi-loop rescue strap by Anderson Rescue Solutions. Tim Anderson, the owner and proprietor of Anderson Rescue Solutions, has become a dear friend. In fact, he's even been on the podcast several episodes ago. Dropped incredible information. He's super passionate about the fire service, about special operations, and he has built an incredible company, an incredible product. So because of our great relationship with Tim and Anderson Rescue Solutions, if you go to andersonrescue.com, you'll get 10% off if you use the promo code NFR2023. That's NFR2023 at checkout on andersonrescue.com. You'll get 10% off your order. And do me a favor, go over to their social media and check out Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for weekly news, product info, and other content in regards to Anderson Rescue Solutions. This episode's brought to you by Flame Decon. Developed specifically for firefighter decon, Flame shampoo, body wash, and soaps reduce your risk of getting occupational cancer. Live fire testing shows that carcinogens on your skin after a fire are removed and undetectable after using Flame. Flame Decon has made a product that not only does its job and does it well, but that you'll enjoy using. They smell amazing. They make your skin and hair feel great. I will be an absolute witness to that. I have used the product. Tara and I have known each other for quite some time. She has sent us product. We have used it, and it does take that smell of soot and smoke off of you immediately following a shower. It makes a difference. You can find Flame Decon products at flamedecon.com and use promo code NFR for 15% off your first order. That's promo code NFR for 15% off your first order at flamedecon.com. And for departments that are interested in departmental orders, more than one or two pieces of product, you can reach out to Tara directly at tara@flamedecon.com. She's happy to entertain any inquiries that you have. And this made me think departments need to protect their own, and protecting our own is also after the fire. Chiefs, purchasing managers, look into Flame Decon as a way of protecting our firefighters in and out of the firehouse. So check out Flame Decon at flamedecon.com. Use promo code NFR for 15% off your first order.
It's pretty wild, bro, if you think about it, right? I mean, you ever sit back and think about, like, writing policy and procedure and being able to influence the trajectory of a new department? That's pretty cool.
I probably haven't ever thought about it that way till you just said that then. Because me and the team, like, so I've got a lot of passionate friends in the fire service. Passion attracts passion.
How good? So you're not hanging out with mutts. I know that.
Yeah, so like everyone I hang out with at work, man, that like I work with some of the best guys and girls I've ever met in the industry.
So.
They're really passionate.
Yeah.
And they really care about our job. And together we work on these problems, but I think we're too problem focused. We're not really we're like, okay, cool. that solves this one. Move it to the side. What's the next? We just keep going through the list. We probably do need to take more tact and sit there and go, wow, what an opportunity we have to do this. I think we're too much of a doer, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I like what you said, though, and I wrote it down. I just put problem focused and I circled it because I think you have the absolutely right mentality with that. If you're problem focused, that means you're trying to fix the problem so you can move on. But
yeah,
you can't fix every problem. So you have to address every problem, right? There's a difference there. I think that's cool. I think it's smart, man.
You got to be solutions focused. So, like,
Yes.
take the high-rise issue, for example. We have to write a high-rise document for the entire state. Now, in Melbourne, we're pretty dense. Like, I'm not going to say we rival New York in density, but like in a fire brigade, but I can drop 300 firefighters into the city in 20 minutes, right? Like, if the fire doesn't go out, everyone just take off your mask, start talk, and suck the air out of it.
Yeah, man, we got it. Yeah, we can kill it with numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the city I live in, which is an hour away from Melbourne, is a city of 250,000 people. And it could probably get 28 firefighters into its city or its central business district in half an hour.
Wow.
So
big difference.
Writing high-rise policy for, hey, we've got so many resources, how lucky are we? To, hey, we've got nobody come and like after that half hour, the next truck's another half hour away.
John Wayne time in the world of backdraft, right? Yep.
So you have to go, cool, we're writing this policy. You can't go, oh, this is for Melbourne and this is for the region. No, you got to go, this is for the organisation. So you have to go, what can, like, so we didn't write it for Melbourne. We wrote it for Geelong, the other city. And we went, if Geelong can do it, Melbourne can do it.
Sure.
So
it makes sense, right? I mean, it's a smart way to address that, right? Because let's build upon reality-based scenario, not inflated. You know, I think too often in training, we put, you know, if you're typically riding a 2 or 3 man engine company and then it's a training evolution and we put 4 or 5 guys on that engine to make the stretch easier, but it's not reality based, right? Like, I think that that's a super smart way of approaching that and breaking it down and saying, we need to work to the weakest, the minimum, right? Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, work to the minimum and like give our officers and our decision makers or incident controllers powers to be able to make a call. So again, Geelong, you might be turning up to a 15-story residential building high-rise, and that fire might be getting away on you. You have to give them in the documentation the ability or the questioning to go, I don't have the resources to fight this.
Yeah.
I need to evacuate. How do I have that decision-making tool to go, okay, cool, guys, I want you to contain that fire as best you can, but we are getting everybody out of this building until the cavalry arrives.
It's an interesting, it's certainly an interesting point of view, right? I mean, to be able to have, that's a very unique conversation, at least in my world of the American Fire Service, at least the corner that I come from, is I can throw all the resources in the world at it. If I got to go to 100 alarms, I can go to 100 alarms, right? I mean, they just keep coming, right? That's wild. That's absolutely wild. So is there a lot of trial and error in this process then? I mean, are you guys, do you go back and review new guidelines, policies to see if, in the practical sense, yes, this is feasible, or, we were reaching here and we need to scale it back? Like, how's that look?
A lot of it comes into we have a pretty comprehensive process and with many layers of engagement. So first of all, we looked at what each service used to do in their old doctrine, and we pull out that. Oh, hang on, I'll take it back and I'll actually go through the whole process. So first of all, we develop a need for writing policy. Here's a problem. We need to solve this problem. And Then we go look at how the former agency solved that problem. Once we have that documentation, we can develop a gaps analysis. So what gaps do we have in these old agencies' procedures, whether they be the problem solution, the resourcing, whatever it is, and the problem itself. So how do we address that? Let's look external. Let's look at what the other states in Australia are doing. Let's look at what big departments or comparable departments around the world are doing.
Yeah.
And we'll gather all this information. And then we'll sort through it and sift through it and go, cool, can we apply that one particular thing to our context? So in Australia, we don't have traditional American truck companies. We run our engines more as squads.
Right.
So if you've got something that's truck company focused, we're probably not going to take that. But could we take bits of it and implement it into our squad kind of arrangement?
Mm-hmm.
So then you start to write policy, and you might write your first draft and you know that only 10% of that's going to get through, but you've written something on paper.
Yeah, right.
And then you start handing it around. You go to stations, you go to busy stations that have that problem in their area and go, hey guys, what do you think of this? Oh, that's going to work. That's not going to work. What the hell does that mean? And keep going through it, picking through.
Like, I mean, but you're talking, like, I wrote down while you were talking, I kept making notes, but like buy-in. The fact that you're taking it to the streets and vetting the people that are doing this now, right? So you guys are this think tank of, we need to take what they used to do, what we used to do, find commonality between it, spin it out, get feedback from the boots on the ground to tell us if this works, doesn't work, what they like, what they don't like, and then you guys craft a plan from there. Brother, it takes a lot of work and like buy-in from the people, but the people that are helping facilitate moving progress forward, as well as allowing the firefighters to take ownership of it too, right?
100%. Like, you got to bring them along for the journey.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Yes.
And like, what is policy there for, right? Like, I'm really passionate about policy because I'm the one who's walking through the front door.
Okay.
If that policy is wrong and doesn't allow the incident controller to make a decision that's in my best interest, or allow them to formulate strategies and tactics that keep me safe.
It's a good point.
Like, it's up to us to know it. Like, they're written for a reason. It's not just written because they want to make it like that.
I agree with you, right? When you put it in that regard, I agree with you 110%. If you tell people that you follow policy, some people look at you with a slant eye and go, he's one of those guys, right? Like, they don't know. Policy's bullshit. But here's the thing. Policy written 50 years ago that doesn't represent bullshit. Today's department versus what you're doing. You're writing today's policy to represent who you are. It's a very different conversation.
100%. And the other thing, just to finally answer your question you asked me, our policy and procedure is reviewed every 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And we send them out to our subject matter advisors, so people that we've identified in the brigade that have specialised knowledge in an area. So the team's identified someone who might know a lot about subway systems.
Right.
And they'll send out the document to the SMA and go, cool, are we still doing the right thing? Are we still, like, is this still up to date? Is this still best practice? Because you've got the vested interest. You're the one studying. What do you think? Like, give us the information. And then we've also got a process like an email inbox. And This is a lot of work, but you have to do it because you have to have buy-in and you have to bring people along for the journey, where anyone can email in and go, point 1.3 on the structure, fire strategies and tactics, SOP. I think that's wrong. I think it should be this. And then if we get one of those emails, that can start a conversation around, okay, cool, come in, tell us, show us some data, show us some figures, show us some facts. Tell us how this is going to enhance the policy. And if they can prove it and the subject matter advisors agree, bang, that's the change. Like, it's not written in stone. It's written on Microsoft Word. It's a live document. I can edit it tomorrow,
It's a live document. 100%. I think, though, so many of us have lost track of that. I think administrations and chiefs and admins have lost track of that, and I think that this is an incredible conversation because you're in such a unique juncture in your department's history, and and to have an administration like yours then that buys in and believes in that, believes in it's a working document. Like, we want to be sure that what we're telling you as policy represents the very best of what we can offer while providing the proper level of service and protection for not just the citizens, but you, the firefighter, too.
Yeah. And the other thing that there's quite a lot of consultation with is the industrial body, the union. So the union has a big seat at the table to be able to help us out as well, and to make sure that we're doing things not only in the community's interest, not only in the community's best interest, but in the members' best interest as well.
100%. Yeah.
So trying to tick all the boxes. It's been brilliant. Like,
how hard is it? How hard is it to find that? Was there a struggle early on with finding the balance between here and finding the middle? I mean, there had to be, until people could buy in and trust in the process and believe in the process. And the only way they're going to believe is if they see it, right? So to get that buy-in, you guys had to work very hard at that. I can only imagine.
So everyone's really invested in their department, right? Like, if you're not invested in your department, you're never going to have the best department. Someone said that once, yeah?
Yeah, 100%, man. The fire department you belong to is the best fire department in the world. And if it's not, fix it, because it's supposed
100%.
to be. Yeah. I don't know who the original person was that said that. I would love to find the original quote on that. But yeah, I agree with it 100%.
Yeah. So when we joined, right, there was a loss of identity from both departments.
Yeah.
And we had to acknowledge that.
Sure.
You had to go, yeah, cool. Like, yesterday, you were the Metropolitan Fire Brigade of Melbourne, you were the Country Fire Authority, and you were really proud of that. But today, and we accept that, you have a big history. Like, one of the senior guys, this was the element, like this was one of those moments where you were like, that's a senior guy, that's who you should aspire to be. One of the guys I was working with had done 45 years for the Metropolitan Department at number 1 station.
Wow.
That Metropolitan Department was 126 or 7 years old.
He was there for a third of it.
He was there for a third of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about his thoughts on the merger, and he's like, look, I'm sad to see the end of the Metropolitan Fire Brigade. I've been with it for a third of its life. It has been a massive part of mine. But because he joined when he was like 18 and he'd done 45 years.
Right.
But he turned around and said, I can see the value in it for the next generation. I can see how this makes things easier. I can see how this enhances not only people's working life, but their home life, their life away from this joint. Because it gives the metropolitan people a chance to go do a tree change or a sea change.
Yeah.
It gives the people out in the regional centres the chance to come in. Like, it is actually a great opportunity to have.
Yeah.
So, I was like, cool, here's a guy who's so invested in his department and he loves his department and all that kind of stuff, but he's willing to sacrifice that for the next generation.
Yeah. He's
willing to get on board, steer the ship, and push people in that direction because he can see the value in it.
You want to harness that guy, man. We need 1,000 of them. You know what I mean? That's awesome. I mean, but that's what this is about, right? Like, laying that foundation for the class behind us, that generation behind us to push this job forward. I just think you're in a super unique time in your career. I mean, with 11 years in a career service, I mean, you're that 10 to 20 year guy that is the backbone, and typically now more than ever becoming the more senior guys in the fire service now, right? We don't have a lot of guys that are trending over 20 years at this point, right? And so that 10 to 20 gap is super instrumental in the growth of our department.
And I have this discussion with mates of my vintage quite a lot, right?
Your vintage?
Yeah. So when we joined, so vintage, wine, like a fine wine, gets better
I get it. I got it. The vintage. I want to use that. That's cool. It's eloquent, man.
Yeah.
Keep
So
going.
I'll sit there and I'll talk with guys and girls of my vintage, and firefighters don't like the way things are or change.
Right.
But like we'll sit there and yeah, we might get into a bit of like this person over here, they're not really upholding this, they're not doing that. And it dawned on us when we were having this conversation that, oh shit, we're the custodians now. It's up to us to call these people, like not to call these people out, but to help them on the journey to become better firefighters and better people and better members of the brigade by saying, hey man, you know how you did that kind of shitty thing over there? Or this, it wasn't kind of up to standard. So we need to improve on that. But on the flip side, we also need to praise people for doing the right thing.
That's right.
You get more with positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement. Hey man, I really loved how you operated that last job, or how you engaged with that member of the community that came and knocked on our door and needed assistance. Like you did such a good job there to handle that problem. Like
good leaders, right? Solid leaders, people that believe in their own people, right? I mean, we need positive reinforcement. It's important. I think we got to be careful though, too. There's always a fine balance with everything. And I think even positive reinforcement, sometimes, positive reinforcement can become, it gives a false sense of entitlement sometimes too, right? 8th place trophies and so on. So we need to be sure that, praise is there when it's necessary and worthy and not just there as lip service. And then the other side of the coin, positive reinforcement, 100%. I agree with it 100% when it's warranted. But on the other end, though, is holding people accountable for when they're not upstanding or holding the tradition's values or practical, knowledge in the fireground. We need to hold people accountable for their actions too.
100%. Praise with humility, accountability with kindness.
My God, like do you write fortune cookies? I mean, where do you come up with this shit? Give me that one again. What is it? Pride what?
So praise with humility.
Praise with humility.
And accountability with kindness. Now, if you talk to people who I instructed 5-6 years ago, I don't think they have any love for me.
I'm the same guy. I'm exactly the same guy.
I was angry, I was bitter, I was frustrated, and I'd take it out on people.
100%.
And it took a journey and some good mentorship and some good leadership by people above me to kind of guide me in the direction where I am today, where it's like, hey, let's be learner focused. Let's find out your needs. Let's actually teach you instead of berate you. Let's get you operating out of confidence, not operating out of fear. And that's been a big change for me. But like learning that kind of stuff, like accountability with kindness. Hey, man, is everything okay? Are you okay? Like, is everything at home okay? Because today, like I need to check in with you. Yeah, it is. Okay, well, today, like, you did this thing and that's really out of character for you, or that's not the right way of doing things, whatever it is. But you have to have that kind talk, not that you need to be.
You got to be in tune with your people. You have to check yourself at the door and put your people first, because the only way you fully can work with your people on a relationship level that matters is when you're in tune with them and you know who they are, because you put your own shit at the door and focused on them. 100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So look, the leadership thing is just such an interesting topic, especially as someone who's starting to emerge as like as that 10 to 20 year guy starting to emerge into that leadership role, whether you like it or not. Like,
I agree with you 100%. And like for me, I know for a fact that like what you said, I can absolutely understand what you're saying. Like I was not like I was called Captain Screamer at one point, right? Like I was not mature enough or in a place to be able to be in that position I think I was at the time, and it because I hadn't matured yet, right? Like you talk about mentorship, finding people that helped you find your way, your path, and understand and all that. I didn't have a lot of that. I had a few people that I looked up to or what have you, but I really found a lot of this on my own. And it was because I think I needed to seek it out. I wasn't happy with who I was, or I always thought there was more, and I was always looking for more. And through more came finding podcasts and people that were more like-minded, and come to realize that, you don't need to be, Steve Jobs, right? He led by intimidation and fear with his people, right? It doesn't mean you need to do that. That's not everybody's style. You can lead with kindness. Kindness can be important in leadership and still carry a big stick, but be kind, have empathy, right? Like, there's different management styles. And I think it took me a long time. I mean, I'm 46 years old, and I remember sitting in meetings at the firehouse, and the younger guys would be like, I can't believe you're saying this today. 10 years ago, you would have been on the other side of the coin. And I go, 100% I would have. You're right. Yeah. I would have taken the harder approach, the more angry approach, the more pissed off and point the finger approach than I would today. I'm a totally different guy today, because with experience comes maturity. And, and so for me, I'm grateful that I went through all the shit I did. And I'm grateful that I probably wasn't a great leader or manager in the early part of my career, but I do believe that I've come a very long way, and I'm very proud of how I carry myself today. And, your reputation takes hits when you're young, and it takes a long time to repair it. And you got to walk that line. And so I recognized that several years ago, and I work hard at it every day. And don't get me wrong, and I know you're right there with me. There are days where you just want to be like, what are you doing? Like, and it's okay to have those moments, but it's also then coming back around and getting back into it, right?
100%. Like, and the most beautiful thing about what you said then was that you own it, you admit it, and you pass that message on.
Have to
own it, admit it, pass it on. Like, hey guys, don't do what I did. Don't become this guy. The job's more than just, and I think it happens to young firefighters that are very focused on what we could be. Mm-hmm. They can see the potential of the department that you're in, and you're like, oh, why isn't everyone as passionate as I am? And you're like, dude, now as the 10, 11-year guy, you turn around and you go, man, people do this job for many different reasons. Like, not everyone's going to be.
You are so accurate in everything that I went through. Yeah.
So one big thing that I learned too is to ring up like-minded people. And the more like-minded people you have in your network, the easier it is to find one that's awake at the time of day that's stressing you. That's been really good.
I love that. Let's just talk about that real quick while people are listening to this episode. It is 4:42 in the afternoon here. What time is it where you are?
7:44.
That means you woke up. Oh. You woke up nice and early to talk with me today.
Yeah.
So
a day in the future, though. I'm in the future.
You are in the future.
Yeah. It's the 21st of March here.
Well, it's good to know that right now I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So that's good, because you are the future. So that's great. But yeah. I like what you said, though, and I have it written in my book here in notes. I wanted to ask you about it, because everything we've been talking about, you mentioned that symposium that you went to, I think in England, right, with all the different people from all these different countries. You mentioned Jerry Tracy, and he's an outlet for you to communicate with, who is in the States, right? Like, and you have a lot of connection here. Are you teaching at FDIC?
Yep, I am. So me and Jerry are running a workshop on the Monday.
I love it.
And we're talking about the fire dynamics in tall buildings. So we're going beyond the traditional fire curve, and we're going beyond the 3 extreme fire behaviors: smoke, explosion, flashover, backdraft. We're going to talk about fire phenomena that's common in tall buildings, and maybe some solutions that departments can come up with to combat these challenges.
I love it. So this all speaks to where I'm going with this, right? Talk to me about how important relationships are and what they've done for you in your career.
I never thought it as a young guy, but relationships are the most important part of this job. This job's the people, and like
it is, man. It is. Talk about that. Talk about it.
I've always like there's been mentors in in my career that have really influenced this. Like one of them is an SSO. He always says, you know, the job isn't the job, the people are the job. And then like I read a lot. I'm reading Pass It On 2 at the moment. And I just came to bring it to Chief Brindisini's section. Where he's like, for so long in my career, I focused solely on procedure and how to combat the fire, and I ignored the person element. And then late in my career, I realized that if I embrace the person element, the rest takes care of itself because we've hired the best.
Right.
They're going to do the job. So I think formulating relationships early is so important. Like if you're coming on the job, you're going to be influenced directly by your senior people. And I was extremely lucky to have one of my mentors grab me early on. And this dude, when I came on, he joined when I was the year I was born. So he joined in 88. And he had more energy than most. He still has more energy than most recruits. He turns up to work and he's like, yeah, no, I'm so keen. Let's go do all this stuff. And we'd be out training in the stick till like 3 a.m. in the morning because we could. And then we'd come back and we'd wake everyone up as we park the appliance in the appliance bay. We'd come back with a pack of donuts. Anyway, like developing those relationships is going to help increase your knowledge base.
Yeah.
No one here is designed to have all the knowledge of the fire service. You need to have people to bounce things off and talk about, and being able to call up someone and be like, hey man, I'm having this problem, or I've read this research paper, or whatever it might be on how to do something. You need mentors and people to go to pull on their experiences and their expertise. And it's been brilliant to be able to have that, like to meet and work with the guys that I did in the UK from all around the world. That I remember sitting there at one stage going, how the hell am I in this room?
Yeah. I have that. I literally have that conversation with myself probably once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week.
What am I doing here? And like FDIC last year, like being able to just talk with people. And I think being Australian helped me out a lot there because I was a bit of a novelty. So, and like me,
I love it.
Yeah.
No, you know what? There might be some of that though. I have a tremendous intrigue, right? Like I want to ask you 10,000 questions just about like operations and all that too. But this is like a killer conversation. But I mentioned like relationships and how important they are, but you take that to another level, right? I don't really have any friends or influence outside of today with you that come from other countries, other ways of doing it, right? So a lot of the relationships I have are obviously state-based here, you know, the United States. Yep. And even with that, there's so many different variations of the American fire service and all different corners of how we operate, what it looks like, all this stuff, right? It's still very different. But I have to think you having connections all over the globe is just a unique situation that gives you insight from so many different angles that you can really capture a wide-ranging audience to help you narrow in on a common message.
Yeah, and like a lot of that's been done through social media. So like, for example, I'll talk about one of our mutual friends, Pip.
Yeah, sure.
Man, so Pip was involved in 555 fitness. I love my fitness. I love my strength and conditioning. Like not only for the job, just for my brain and body and all that kind of stuff. So I jumped on 555 fitness and I just got to know him. And we've talked and stayed friends for 10 years online. And last year I got to meet him in person at FDIC. Yeah. And I went and stayed at his house with his family. Like we had two mates. Like I had two mates come with me from Australia. Yep. We all went and stayed with them. And that was one of the highlights of our trip. Now that trip was there to crank on and just look at fire trucks and firehouses, do all the fire stuff. But that weekend, that wasn't anything to do with fire. That was just hanging with Pip and his family. And for me, that was the big highlight because I actually got to hang out with this guy that I've been mates with. And he's mentored me through some really rough times in my life. Sure. Pip's an amazing guy. And to be able to just sit there and have a beer with him on his back porch and just talk whatever came into our heads was just, that was the best night.
I can't talk enough about the importance of something like that. And I feel like so many guys don't have relationships like that in the fire service. And I just if we can do anything with our platform and the podcast, if people are listening to this and you don't have a relationship like that with somebody in the fire service, challenge yourself to put yourself out there and go find people like that, right? For you, Gerard, like you and I met through Pip. Pip introduced us, and it was like an instant connection. Like, yeah, man, love to chat with you. Love to learn your story, right? Like, I like to give everyone an opportunity. And I think I firmly believe, and I've been saying this more and more with the podcast, like, and I don't mean this in a weird way, right? Like I could have on anyone I want on the podcast. Like we've gotten to that point now where if I threw an invitation out there to, literally anyone, they'd probably come on, right? We've grown to a household name with that and so on. I actually enjoy conversations with just the average guy, just like me, right? Because we all have a story to tell and we all have experiences too. And so for me, it's more about like capturing the story of Gerard Mann and like what fuels you and who you are. And to me, I can't wait to share a cold one with you and give you a hug and like solidify this relationship that started today, right? And like this is important to me. And I challenge people, if you don't have that in your life, go seek it out because relationships do matter. And the fire service is built on that. We need people. People need people to survive and to thrive, right? We need people. So, yeah, don't put yourself on an island by yourself, man. You live on an island and you haven't.
Well, if you're on a crew, number one thing, learn everyone's partner's names. If they have kids, learn the kids' names. Ask them what they do. Talk to them about it. Like my first thing that I like to do in the morning, I get up a little earlier at the station if we're not on runs, and I go around, I do some of the duties, and then I come into the kitchen, start making the brew. Mm-hmm. It's just a little thing that I like to do so that we can connect over a coffee. Like, hey, what's on for your day today? Like, what are you doing with the kids? Oh, how is their little league team doing? How is this going on? Invest in the people, make that connection, and everything else will flow from that. Everything else comes from that.
Take an interest.
No one wants to work with someone who they don't understand or know anything.
And I think, Gerard, too, I think a big part of that and what we need to, part of the message we need to convey to people is stop focusing so much on yourself. Start focusing on other people around you. People are so wrapped up in their own shit these days that they don't stop and look around, right? And like, there are such amazing people right around you. Look for them. Put your own shit aside for a half a minute and find people that are right around you that can bring so much to the table for you. I guarantee you, if you get out of your own head and get out of your own space, those people that you find around you will make you a better person.
100%, man. Like everyone just gets in their own head and thinks about their own journey, dude. Invest in other people and you'll be on an amazing ride. Like as you're a bit of an instructor, I'm an instructor. Like how good is it watching someone else's journey?
Oh, I love it. Let me tell you something. I spoke 2 weeks ago at a Fools event in New England, and I did the
great
Friday
keynote
night
speech, by the way.
Oh, you heard? Did you listen to that?
Yeah, great.
Brother,
loved it.
I was literally, when I was done giving that, I had the same adrenaline that I do at fires. Like I was like torqued up. People are coming up and saying thank you, and it was great. And you really fired us up for the weekend and stuff. And I go, yeah, it's how it's supposed to be. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like there is a level of excitement that is needed. We need to do that. And for me, connecting with people there fuels me. That's my selfish need, right? But it's literally sitting there and talking with 100 people after you talk and make those relationships. I mean, I give my phone number out to everyone. I give anybody can contact me anytime they want. Like, I don't care. I have nothing to hide, Yeah. And I think that that's important. And I think that we shouldn't be scared of that. And I think it's okay to put it all out there and let people make decisions. Because I think people are going to make informed decisions based upon how you and who you truly are. And if you got nothing to hide, and you're authentic, put it out there, man. You're going to find nothing but reward. You really will.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And like all your challenges, you fight with other people. Like you have people with you. So whatever you're going through in life, we could do hours of talking, but like just talk about the mental health issue in the fire service. You're carrying some baggage, man.
Everybody is.
Knowing the pump chart ain't going to help you. Knowing the buddy beside you is going to help you.
Yeah.
Like actually having a connection with someone who you feel comfortable talking about your problems is going to help you more than knowing that pump chart. The pump chart's important, don't get me wrong, but having that connection is way more important.
Yeah, and having connection with people that are invested in you so that you can talk about it. And that's, again, getting out of your own space and getting into somebody else's, and we just have to do a better job at that. And I think in the world in which we live today, it's easier to get wrapped up in your own stuff more than ever. And I think if you think back traditionally in the generations prior, there wasn't enough to be wrapped up in your own stuff like it is today. And and because of that, I think is why they gave so much to the job, and they gave so much to their families and so on. And so you look at those older generations and it just makes sense, right? But things evolve, and with evolution comes change, and with change we have to be able to respond and react to change and do it in a way that fairly represents who we are and our, in the service we provide, right? So it's wild. We could talk hours and hours on that too, man. But I don't even know where to begin to say thank you for joining me today. Like, you and I could talk. I think like you and I are just gonna do a weekly
it's gonna be
episode.
Great. I can't wait for FDIC, man. Think a cold one.
I could do this literally every day with you is BS, man. It's such a natural back and forth with you. I appreciate you, man. What a great conversation.
Right back at you, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me. And like, I honestly can't wait to buy you a beer over there at FDIC and just have a yarn. And anyone who listens to this, if you're at FDIC and you see me, come up, say good day, and introduce yourself, because I need more friends. I love having friends.
I love it. I need more friends. Frick, man, that's another one-liner. I mean, that might be the title of this whole episode, is I need more friends. That's what we want. That's what we need. I love that. Oh my God.
So yeah, like, I can't wait.
I hope you're writing this stuff down. Do you write?
Kinda. Sometimes writing's hard, man. Like,
I don't think you need to write paragraphs. I think you should do, I'm going to show you right now. You should do what I do. So when I think of something, I go right to my phone and
put some notes in. Yeah, nice.
I put all my notes in. Right? So this is probably, I don't know, 6 months worth, a year's worth of notes. And it might be a one-liner, like I got one here, black eye, right? And it says, everyone needs one.
Yep.
Right? Holding people to the same expectations you have for yourself. I mean, car pulls up on the firehouse apron. Who goes out to talk with the public? Right? I get these ideas in my head, and then I put down a note, and then I come back to them as talking points. And that's how I really put my stuff together.
Subjects, like, you could talk about any of those lines, but yeah,
I could talk about each of those lines for an hour. You know what I mean? But I think you're the same way though, and you have had really a few insightful, like really powerful one-liners today. I'm just writing this one down. I need more friends.
Yeah,
because the message behind that, super powerful. Super powerful. Gerard Mann from Down Under, brother. I can't thank you enough for getting up early this morning and joining me, man. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad. Am I the first international fire radio?
I think so. I think so. I think that I might have to, when we hang up here, I might have to call the attorneys, get them on the phone. We might have to look at changing the name to International Fire Radio. I mean, we got a lot of work ahead of us, brother, because you're not going anywhere. You need new friends. I want to be your friend. So, or you need more friends.
Thank you.
I want to be one of your friends, man.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. And, you know, I get so much out of these episodes and podcasts and meeting new people. And a lot of the people I put on the show, I don't know. I've never met before until we do it, or, you know, we talk a little bit prior. And some people really stand out. You, my friend, stand out. And I appreciate you.
You too, Colin. Thank you so much.
I love it, man. Thank you. If people want to reach out to you, since you're looking for friends, where can they get a hold of you? You got social media or an email address? Yep.
Social medias. So just Gerard Mann. You'll notice me because it'll be none of my stuff's private. There'll be fire stuff in it.
Love it.
We wear those Euro helmets. So
I didn't want to open that. I can't believe you just brought that up. You're brave.
But I do have two traditional helmets. I do have two US traditional helmets, and I just went and got off Taylor's tins, a tin front for it for FDIC this year. I'm not going to make the mistake of bringing another Euro.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, that's fantastic. So, guys, look up Gerard on social media. Man, just bringing great stuff. Brother, thank you for sharing a little bit of your story today with me, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, bro. And look after yourself, and I'll see you in Indy.
Hell yeah, man. Absolutely. Stay right here. Don't hang up, though. Don't hang up. Right. I just want to sign off the podcast. Guys, thank you for tuning in for another amazing episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Without guests like Gerard Mann, we have nothing. And, man, what a great conversation today. So do me a favor. Take this conversation and take it back to the firehouse, because when you do and you talk about the job, we're making the job better. Thanks for tuning in. If you got any insights or any ideas for the podcast or something you want to tell me, positive, negative, whatever it is, email us, podcast@nationalfireradio.com. We'd love to hear from you. And again, thanks for tuning in and spending some time with us today. Gerard Mann out of Australia, rock star, brother. You're going to see a lot more of him on this channel. I promise you that. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio.